Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed my life, something so simple, so powerful, yet most people overlook it every single day. I'm talking about 30 minutes, just 30 minutes. See, everybody out here is searching for the big secret to success. They think it's some magical talent, a college degree, a lucky break, or the right connection. But I'm here to tell you the truth. It's what you do in silence when nobody's watching every single day that builds the life you want. Consistency creates confidence and clarity. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. This is the foundation of lasting success. Most people think that success arrives suddenly or comes in a wave of motivation, a lucky break, or an overnight change. But the reality is much quieter. Success is not loud. It doesn't shout. It's found in the quiet habits, the daily efforts that compound over time. When you commit to doing something consistently, even something small, it begins to shape the way you see yourself. It builds internal trust. You start to believe in your own word, and that belief builds confidence, not because of what you said you would do, but because of what you actually did. That's where the power lies, in action, not intention. Think about it like this. If you work out one time for 4 hours, sure, you'll be sore the next day, but it won't change your body. But if you work out for just 30 minutes every day, within weeks, your body will begin to change. Your endurance will improve, your strength will build, and your mindset will shift. The same rule applies to anything in life. Whether it's building a business, developing a talent, healing your spirit, or growing in faith, it's the daily effort that shapes the outcome. Even when the results aren't visible right away, consistency is silently building the foundation. That consistency eliminates confusion because it simplifies the process. You no longer ask yourself whether you do it, you just do it. It becomes part of who you are, not something you struggle to start every day. People often overthink their goals. They want a perfect plan, the best tools, the right moment. But clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from movement. When you do something every day, you begin to understand it more deeply. Whether that's journaling, meditating, practicing your craft, or reading something that sharpens your mind, the repetition creates mental and emotional clarity. You get clear on what you want, what you're good at, what's distracting you, and what you need to let go of. You stop looking around, comparing yourself to everyone else, because you're grounded in your own process. That's what daily discipline does. It centers you. Confidence is not about being loud or dominant. Real confidence is quiet. It comes from knowing you've done the work even when no one saw you doing it. When you show up for yourself day after day, you begin to carry yourself differently. You walk into rooms with assurance, not arrogance. You speak with certainty, not ego. And all of that flows from the small things you do consistently. The repetition becomes identity. You're not faking it, you're living it. There's a shift that happens when you stop chasing big wins and start honoring the daily process. You realize that greatness isn't hidden in a giant leap. It's built through steady, faithful steps. Those steps seem small at first, almost invisible. But over time, they add up. They become a trail you can look back on with pride. And every time you follow through, even on a tough day, even when you're tired or uninspired, you reinforce the idea that you're the kind of person who shows up. That's the kind of belief that fuels real success. Not hype, not talk, just proof gathered through action. Consistency turns your dreams from distant hopes into achievable plans because it builds momentum. And momentum is what carries you through resistance, doubt, and delay. The first 30 minutes of your day can determine the quality and direction of your entire life. That small window, right after you wake up, holds a power that most people ignore. Instead of using it with purpose, Many people dive straight into chaos, scrolling social media, answering messages, reacting to news, or rushing into responsibilities without a moment of intention. But the truth is, those first 30 minutes are the most influential time of the day because your mind is in its most open and suggestible state. What you feed your thoughts in that moment becomes the tone setter for everything that follows. It's not just about waking up, it's about waking up with purpose. That small decision to use the start of your day wisely can shape how you handle challenges, how you speak to yourself, and how you move toward your goals. When you begin your day with silence, reflection, or focus, you give yourself room to breathe before the world starts pulling you in all directions. Whether it's through prayer, journaling, meditation, reading something uplifting, or simply sitting in gratitude, these moments help you anchor your spirit. It's not about doing something complicated. It's about being present, being intentional, and protecting your mindset before you give your energy away to others. The people who succeed consistently aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented. They've just learned the value of guarding their mornings. They start their day by pouring into themselves so they can pour into their work, their families, and their calling from a place of fullness instead of depletion. In those 30 minutes, you can decide who you want to be that day. You can set your tone, your energy, your mindset. You can visualize your goals, remind yourself of your purpose, and speak affirmations over your life. You don't need anyone's permission to do this. You don't need a fancy system or expensive routine. You just need the willingness to turn inward instead of outward when the day begins. And what that does is shift the entire trajectory of your decisions. You don't react to problems the same way. You don't get thrown off by distractions as easily. You become more focused, more centered, and more resilient. Just because you took the time to align your thoughts before the noise started. Most people underestimate the power of preparation. They think they can just jump into life and manage whatever comes. But preparation isn't just about planning tasks. It's about preparing your mind. A clear, calm, and confident mind handles pressure better. It sees through confusion and resists being pulled in 10 different directions. Those 30 minutes are where that preparation happens. It's where you gather your strength before the demands of the day begin. Even just sitting with your own thoughts, understanding what you feel, and deciding how you want to show up is a game changer. It helps you operate from a place of response instead of reaction. And that alone can elevate your relationships, your performance, and your peace. There's something sacred about that early space in the day. It's quiet, it's still. The world hasn't demanded anything from you yet. That's when your soul can speak the loudest. If you let it. If you waste it on noise, you start your day behind. But if you use it to invest in your mindset, you start ahead. And day after day, that investment compounds. You become more consistent, more self-awareness, and more intentional. You start to act based on vision, not emotion. And over time, your days begin to reflect your growth. Not because you made one big change, but because you started every day with clarity. And that clarity guided every action you took. Daily time with your thoughts, goals, and faith will build internal strength that outlasts external challenges. Life is unpredictable. It throws situations at you that you didn't ask for, problems you didn't plan, and detours that test your patience and endurance. In the middle of all that, the one thing that can't be shaken is the strength you build from within. But that kind of strength doesn't just appear when things get hard. It has to be built in the quiet, when things are still, through consistent time spent reflecting on who you are, where you're going, and what matters most to you. Every single day, even if just for a few minutes, when you sit alone with your thoughts, your dreams, and your belief in something greater than yourself, you're training your spirit to stand strong when the pressure hits. There's a difference between reacting from emotion and responding from a place of grounded wisdom. That difference is shaped in your daily practice. When you take time to sit with your goals, you not just remind yourself of what you want, you're strengthening your connection to your purpose. You're fueling your motivation not from outside results, but from an inner clarity that keeps you steady through seasons of doubt. You won't always see progress immediately, and that's when most people quit. But those who take time daily to remind themselves of their mission don't fall apart when life doesn't go as planned. They've built a mental and emotional foundation that keeps them anchored, even in storm. Faith plays a vital role in this process. It doesn't matter what your background is. Having faith in something beyond your current circumstance gives you the endurance to keep going. When you incorporate prayer or spiritual reflection into your daily time, you are giving your spirit a place to recharge. You're reminding yourself that you are not alone, that your life has meaning, and that what you're going through is part of a greater journey. This doesn't mean every day will be easy. It means that every day you are training your mind to be strong, to stay focused, and to believe in the possibility of your own breakthrough. When you sit with your thoughts instead of running from them, you start to understand yourself better. You begin to identify what's distracting you, what's holding you back, and what needs to be released. That self-awareness creates a sense of power because you're no longer operating blindly. You're moving with intention. You're noticing patterns. You're becoming your own source of insight and direction. And when challenges come, which they always do, you're not caught off guard. You've already built the habit of checking in with yourself, of quieting the noise, and listening to what your inner voice is saying. This habit becomes a lifeline in difficult times. Because when the world feels loud, stressful, or uncertain, you'll know exactly where to return for clarity. You'll turn inward, not outward, for strength. And that strength will come not from pretending to have it all together, but from the discipline of consistently showing up for yourself every single day. People often think strength looks like pushing through without emotion, but true strength is knowing your emotions and still choosing direction over distraction. It's remembering why you started, even when the results haven't shown up yet. It's having a spiritual connection that lifts you when your motivation fades. That kind of strength doesn't fade with circumstances. It grows because it's rooted in something deeper, and that depth is built in daily moments of reflection, connection, and faith. The secret to success isn't talent. It's intentional action repeated with discipline, even when no one's watching. People often confuse talent with success, assuming that those who rise to the top were simply born with extraordinary gifts. But the truth is, talent can only take you so far. It's action. Deliberate, consistent, purpose-driven action that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. The world is full of talented individuals who never realize their potential, not because they lack ability, but because they lack the discipline to show up daily and put in the work. Success isn't about being naturally gifted. It's about waking up every day, setting an intention, and taking steps toward your goals, whether or not anyone else notices or praises your effort. It's easy to get motivated when someone's watching, when there's an audience, when applause is expected. But what about when you're alone? When the only one who knows whether you did the work is you? That's the real test. Intentional action means you're not just busy, you're purposeful. You're not filling your day with distractions or surface-level tasks. You're focused on what truly matters, even if progress feels slow. Every step you take in private is building something powerful in public, and discipline is what allows you to keep moving when the excitement fades, when the initial spark dims, and when things get tough. It's easy to start. It's hard to continue. But that's where growth happens. When you act with intention, you begin to develop patterns of excellence. You no longer leave success up to chance or emotion. You create systems that support your vision. You choose habits that align with your values, and over time, those small, consistent actions begin to define your character. People notice consistency. They notice when someone keeps their word, stays focused, and operates with integrity, even when it's inconvenient. That reputation isn't built overnight. It's built in moments when no one is clapping, no one is watching, and no one is offering instant reward. There's a level of power that comes from knowing you are reliable to yourself. When you say you'll do something and you follow through, you build trust with yourself. That inner trust is a foundation that can't be shaken by outside opinions or setbacks, because you've proven time and time again that you won't give up on your vision. Talent might open the door, but discipline walks you through it, and intentional action keeps you in the room. It's about mastering your mindset, training your focus, and learning to lead yourself even when emotions try to pull you in a different direction. No one becomes successful by accident. Behind every story of success is a quiet history of repeated effort, of mornings that began with determination, of nights that ended with reflection and adjustments. The people who reach their goals are the ones who take responsibility for their time and energy. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't rely on perfect circumstances. They move forward anyway, creating momentum through movement. Action brings clarity. Every step teaches something. Every failure refines the process. Every success builds belief. But it all starts with one choice: to act intentionally and to stay disciplined regardless of who is watching. When you operate this way, you realize you don't need external motivation. Your purpose becomes your fuel. Your why becomes bigger than your feelings. And once that switch flips, once you understand that greatness is born in the daily effort, your focus shifts from outcomes to process. You stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting results. Because it's not about being seen, it's about becoming. And becoming takes time, effort, patience, and a willingness to keep showing up even when no one is there to witness it. A focused, distraction-free 30 minutes each day can elevate your mindset and change your habits and multiply your impact. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. From the moment you wake up, your attention is pulled in 100 directions. Notifications, emails, social media, noise, responsibilities, an endless to-do list. It's rare to find a moment where you can just be still and present. But inside that rare space is the key to transformation. Carving out just 30 minutes a day, free from distractions, can completely shift how you think, what you prioritize, and how effectively you live your life. It's not about how much time you have, it's about what you do with it. That short half hour, if used with deep focus and clarity, holds the power to realign your goals, clear your mind, and build momentum that spreads throughout the rest of your day. When you give yourself the gift of uninterrupted time, your brain starts to function differently. You're no longer reacting, you're creating. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You can analyze what's working in your life and what's not. You can take a deep look at your progress, your behavior, your thoughts, and your goals. That clarity helps you make decisions rooted in vision instead of stress or confusion. It's not about working harder during this time. It's about thinking deeper. It's the time where ideas are born, breakthroughs happen, and strategies are formed. Many people think they need more hours in the day, but what they really need is more clarity in the hours they already have. And clarity is born in focus. Your habits shape your destiny. And that 30-minute window is the perfect place to work on building better habits. Whether it's reading something that challenges your thinking, writing down your intentions, visualizing your goals, or simply practice stillness and mindfulness. The routine itself becomes a habit that trains your brain to expect growth every day. When you commit to doing something productive with those 30 minutes, over time it becomes automatic. You begin to crave that space because it gives you power. And the habits you create in that space don't stay in that space. They follow you. They bleed into your behavior, your relationships, your work, and your identity. You become someone who's deliberate with their energy and their choices. That time also reprograms how you deal with the rest of your day. Instead of being pulled into distractions or reacting emotionally to everything that comes your way, you approach situations with more calm and focus. You remember what matters most. You handle challenges with a stronger mindset. You notice the little things that used to derail you and now have the power to pause, reset, and respond wisely. That's the power of practicing focus. It gives you control. It builds your ability to stay in charge of your thoughts and emotions instead of being controlled by them. This kind of mental strength is rare, and it starts with intentional time spent sharpening it. When you multiply this impact over weeks and months, you start to see massive change, not just in your performance, but in your self-permission. You start to believe in yourself more because you're doing the work. You're not waiting for motivation. You're building it. You're not hoping for results. You're creating them. And all of that stems from one choice: to remove the noise, sit in stillness, and invest in yourself for just 30 focused minutes a day. Those minutes stack up. They evolve your mind. They refine your discipline. They help you tap into the version of yourself that is capable of doing extraordinary things, not because of luck or talent, but because of consistent action rooted in clarity and focus. Most people wait for motivation. Successful people build momentum by showing up daily, no matter how they feel. This is one of the biggest differences between people who dream about success and those who actually achieve it. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel like working hard and the next day you don't. If you base your actions on whether you feel inspired or not, you'll never build the consistency needed to reach meaningful goals. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for a spark to light your life on fire. It might come once in a while, but it's unreliable. Momentum, on the other hand, is something you create. It's something you build by committing to action, regardless of your emotional state. You don't feel your way into action, you act your way into feeling. By showing up day after day, you build the kind of forward motion that carries you even when your energy is low or your circumstances are tough. When you develop the discipline to do the work, even when you're tired, uninspired, or discouraged, you're training your mind to rise above momentary emotions. Every day won't feel exciting, but every day is an opportunity to move forward. And each small effort compounds over time. The effort you make when no one's clapping, when there's no external reward, is what sets you apart. It's easy to show up when it's convenient. It's powerful to show up when it's not. That's where champions are made. Momentum is like a snowball. It starts small, but as it rolls, it gathers strength. But the only way it starts rolling is if you push it. You push it with action, even if that action feels small or imperfect. Once you take that first step, the second gets easier, and the third easier still. Before long, you've created a rhythm that makes it harder to stop than to continue. The truth is, action leads to motivation more often than motivation leads to action. When you finish a workout, when you complete a task, when you sit down and do the hard thing you didn't feel like doing, you feel stronger. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That builds confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. You start to see results, not just externally, but internally. Your identity shifts. You go from someone who struggles with discipline to someone who owns their habits. This shift isn't dramatic at first. It's subtle, but it's real and it's lasting because it's rooted in your behavior, not your mood. People who achieve great things aren't superhuman. They've just mastered the art of showing up. They don't let bad days define their effort. They don't let fear dictate their decisions. They understand that one solid hour of focused work on a low energetic day still moves the needle forward. And they understand that a small win is still a win. When you build a muscle of momentum, you give yourself power over procrastination. You stop needing perfect conditions to be productive. You stop giving power to excuses. You realize that progress doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. Being present enough to do the work that matters, even if you're not in the mood, is what creates breakthroughs. Your feelings are temporary, but the discipline of consistent action creates permanent change. The person who shows up every day with a clear sense of purpose and a willingness to keep going, even in the absence of motivation, will always outperform the person who waits for the perfect mood or moment. That's why building momentum is so critical. It gives you control over your future. It reminds you that success isn't about feeling great every day. It's about choosing to move forward no matter what the day brings. And once you build that kind of momentum, you become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger.